Awesome. All right. Okay. Thank you for coming, and welcome to another DSCoV talk. And today we're going to talk about ChatGPT, but we're going to give it a little bit different touch. We're going to talk about ChatGPT for domain application, which is learning a foreign language. Actually, using ChatGPT and LLM, large language models in general, for domain application is a billion-dollar question, because these large language models are very, very powerful, but they also come with quite a few quirks, which limit their usage to right now. We only know about making chatbots, becoming your code assistant, and things like that. We have not really found a very solid usage for ChatGPT for domain application. But so today, this is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about whether ChatGPT can be a good tool for you to learn a foreign language. My name is Paul Xu, and I am a data scientist at the Center of Computation and Visualization. You might ask, you're a data scientist, what business do you have in talking about language learning? I am, so English is my second language. I had to learn English through school. And I was an English major, actually, in college. And I also have my master's in teaching English as a second language. So I basically spent a huge chunk of my life before I became a data scientist working on languages. And now that I'm a data scientist, I still work on languages, but a different kind of language, right? But my passion for language learning has never died out. So right now, I'm actually self-studying Japanese. By the way, I'm totally, I don't know how ChatGPT knows the kind of glasses that I wear, but I'm definitely getting that here. All right, okay, so here's what we have for today. I'm gonna talk a little bit about large language models, and then I'm gonna talk about why I think that large language models are a very good candidate for language learning. And then we're going to have an interactive kind of demo session to demonstrate some of the prompts that you can use for you to learn use ChatGPT for you to learn a language. And then I'm going to show you an app, which is basically I put together all of the prompts that I developed while I was learning Japanese to build this website, which is a clone of an actual language learning app that they charge you to use. All right. Okay. So and also, I assume that for this talk you don't need any technical knowledge. Maybe a little bit knowledge about HTML or Markdown, and I think that's sufficient. But I do encourage you that if you have your computer with you, if you have a ChatGPT account or any of the accounts for any other large language models, please feel free to kind of follow along during the demo session. Okay, so let's get started talking about large language models. So very simply put, large language models, they model languages by training autoregressively on extremely large data sets. Those data sets are usually at the scale of the entire internet. By autoregressively, I mean that they're usually trained by predicting the next token. So they're actually trained very easily, but because the data that they are trained on are really, really large, that gives them some very, very powerful capabilities. And you might have heard of some or all of these large language models. The ChatGPT obviously is the most famous, but you might have used Copilot for coding. You might have heard some of the open source models like Llama and Claude. and there's also other companies who are trying to play catch up in the large language model playfield. And here's a few of the characteristics of large language models. So first, they are probabilistic. It's based basically that means that whenever you give the large language models the same prompt, they will not always give you the same results back. So there is a lot of like randomness in large language models. And also these are generative models. For a very long time, machine learning models have been discriminative. So basically, if you give it it can tell you if an image is about a cat or a dog. But now, in the last few years, the generative models have become more popular. Basically, with generative models, you model the entire distribution of your data so that they can use the distribution to actually give you new samples that you have never seen in the data before. And all these large language models, they are huge black boxes. They usually have billions of parameters. If a model has like 7 billion parameters, it's called a tiny model. And also, nobody really knows about nobody knows really how these models work. We just know that they work and they work really well. They're very powerful models, but they're also computationally intensive. Right now, they still require powerful GPUs to run. And if you have heard of large language models, you might also have heard of the issue of hallucination. And basically, hallucination is large language models lying to you, but very convincingly. So that you have no idea whether it's lying or not. And it generally happens when you ask it to do something that it has no data of. So it basically just makes something up, but present it to you in a very, very convincing way so that it can be confusing whether it's actually giving you correct information or not. All right, so just a little bit about large language models, and because of some of these quirks, such as hallucination, and you might also have heard that ChatGPT really sucks at math. It's getting better, but it really sucks at math. So because of, yes, really, really terrible.
No, it's not terrible.
Not terrible now.
I mean, up to about calculus, ChatGPT 4 is relatively good.
Yes,
and
yes.
Beyond that, when you really want to prove things,
Exactly. All right. Yeah. So because of these little quirks, large language models are right now being used in. They have these kind of purposes. First, like ChatGPT, they can be like very good chatbots, giving you lots of information, helping you as very helpful assistants. And you can also use them to search and summarize documents. So right now, the industry is focusing on this technique called retrieval augmented generation for data that is not trained, for data that the large language models are not trained on. And you can also use them as your coding copilots. And also there's a lot of usage about creative writing. You can use it. I think a lot of people are using it for homework and also even like paper writing. So these are the very, very common like large language model use cases. But as you can see, they're not very specific to one single domain, right? So why do I think that large language models can be helpful for language learning? So there is this article that you can find online. Do machine learning models memorize or generalize? And one understanding is about this article is that large language models are extremely good at retrieving pretty much any data that they have been trained on and presenting it in a coherent way. In other words, they are capable of memorizing without overfitting. So think about it. So when you're using it to learn a foreign language, you're pretty much sure that whatever question that you're asking it should have been included in the training data, right? So it is very unlikely that you're asking questions, or when you're learning a language, a task such as language learning, it is very likely to go out of the field of knowledge of these models. So that makes it very much less likely to produce hallucinations. And so which means that they can be much more reliable to you compared with other tasks. And also, when you're learning the language, you're probably less concerned about the facts, right? As long they might be hallucinating, but as long as it has hallucinating in a grammatically correct way, seems to be so it should still be fine in terms of language learning. And another reason is that lots of these large language models are multilingual. They are trained on many different languages, so they really excel at tasks such as translation. And there's some other tasks that I'm going to show you that I can see powerful application as well. All right. So, but not all language models are created equal. So right now, the OpenAI models are still miles ahead of their competition. So, for example, the ChatGPT is trained on 95 different languages. Depending on the language that you want to learn, it's very likely that you will be able to use it to learn a language. And then we can see a little and compare with the ChatGPT's rivals, competitors. So the Claude 2, which is also a very powerful open source language, it is an open source large language model. It is only trained on 10 different languages. And Google also has a competitor, Bard. It is said to be trained on hundreds of languages, but unfortunately, given my experience, Bard is still lagging quite a distance behind OpenAI, especially in the tasks that we're going to talk about today.
Claude 2 is open source.
The model itself is open source, but it also has a hosted version by Anthropic, so that you can use their service, but they do charge you money for that. Yeah. So that's why we're going to use ChatGPT for today's demonstration. But if you are interested, please feel free to sign up for accounts, or if you already have accounts, use other large language models so we can make a comparison of these models on the same input. It will be a fun exercise. And just a little word on whether to get ChatGPT Plus or the GPT API. This can be a little bit confusing because I actually fell into the trap. I wanted to use the GPT API, but then I signed up for ChatGPT Plus. And then I wondered why they still charge me after I spend $20 a month on ChatGPT. So basically, the difference is that if you want to use their web interface, then you can pay a subscription of $20 per month. But then you have all these benefits, such as a more advanced GPT-4 model that is multimodal. It can actually process images as well. You can ask questions about images. And you have access to DALL-E 3, generate fun, interesting images. And recently it added the capability of searching beyond the data that ChatGPT is trained on. And you can actually upload, for example, PDF documents so that you can ask questions about that documents. And all these more advanced features is available for $20 a month. To me, and I think if you do coding on a regular basis, this will be the best $20 that you can ever spend. And then if you want to programmatically use the ChatGPT API, then it is built separately, and it is API accessible only. All right, before we go into the demo, there's just a few terms that I want to get out of the way. So basically, prompt and context are basically mean very similar things. These are the information that, or the questions, the information that you pass to the large language models. So there is a fancy term called prompt engineering, and basically what that means is that you engineer, or you create prompts that to get the large language models to produce the kind of output that you want. And a very interesting, very important concept to large language models is context length. So this might be surprising to you, but right now, large language models are actually not capable of having conversations with you. So they might appear to be having a conversation with you, but the way they do it is that you put all of the previous conversations, your conversation history, in the context, and then based on all the conversation history, they make recommendations for you. So it's not like that they memorize what you have said to them, and then they produce the output for you. So that makes the context length very important, because the number of tokens that it can accept basically dictates how long you can carry on this conversation with the large language models. And then here's another concept, tokens, which is basically very similar to words, which is it is the unit of data that is passed to the large language models. And usually for about 1,000 tokens, you can get about 750 words. Lastly, few-shot and zero-shot learning. These basically mean that you want a model that you have trained to perform on a task that it's never seen before. It's a new task. And zero-shot means that you don't give it any examples. Just ask it to perform a new task. And likewise, few-shot, you give it a few examples and then ask it to perform a new task. We will encounter this in a little bit. So we are going to do the demo right now. But before we get started, any questions? And folks, please feel free to set up. I have prepared all of the prompts that I'm going to use today, so that you can follow along on your own computer with your own ChatGPT account. All right, while folks are setting up, questions. All right, awesome. Okay, so let me get set up as well. So okay, so let's get started. So let's get started with some really generic and naive prompts. These are the prompts that you can easily find from the internet. It gives you, you can do some very general purpose things in terms of language learning with ChatGPT. So For example, I'm just going to, and this is the reason that I learned Japanese. I'm an anime and manga fan. So let's see what ChatGPT is going to answer. I'm just asking it to recommend a few words that will be helpful for me to read anime, or watch anime, or read manga. Okay, and this is the risky thing about ChatGPT, because you cannot really expect what kind of responses it gives you, right? So, and even in my first prompt, it gives me something that is not really what I expected. I expected these words to be in Japanese, not to be in Romanji, right? So ChatGPT might not always give you the kind of thing that you want, but you can ask it to correct it, right? So okay, so you can actually ask it. So can you give me? All right, let's see if it corrects itself. Yeah, and if we have like anime fans or people who understand Japanese, can you tell me if these are good anime words? Actually, at least I know the second one, nani, right? Kawaii is also a great one, right? Yeah, so so these are just a very simple example, but let's move on to something a little bit more useful. For example, let me just start a new one. Wait. Yeah, so because these are like very generic kind of prompts, please feel free to try it on your own. But I'm actually interested in this because I recently learned this expression waku waku, which means I think is popularized by some Japanese character, but I want to learn more about words like this. So let's see what ChatGPT says. And by the way, so if you pay a subscription, you have access to the more powerful GPT-4, which tend to give you much better answers. But I'm just using GPT 3.5 as an example. Yep, as you can see, it gives you similar words with some explanations. These are called, actually, I don't know how to read this word, but onomatopic, onomatopoeic, whatever that is. Yeah, and another good thing, actually, this is actually a disadvantage of ChatGPT, but over here it can be an advantage, which is it doesn't give you the same answer all the time, which means you can keep asking it the same question. It will give you different answers, right? And also you can also prompt it to give you more. So let's see, give me more. Right, so far so good, and you can just keep playing this game, so it gives you everything that you want. And another thing that is very helpful for me is that there are these antonym pairs this actually appears in different languages as well, right? So it's not really limited to Japanese. If you're learning Spanish, I'm sure there are other antonym pairs like big, small, and things like that. So let's see if ChatGPT gives us. Yeah, and you have high and low, wide and narrow, long, short. All of these words are very, very common, but very useful words in Japanese. Yeah, and again, you can ask for more such results. And you can keep asking it, but whenever it reaches the boundary of the ChatGPT's knowledge, it might start hallucinating. So that's one thing that we need to kind of pay attention to. And of course, you can ask it questions about grammar and usage. So for example, I was a little bit confused about all the conditional forms usage in Japanese. So I asked ChatGPT this question: what are the differences between these conditional form words? And let's see what it says. Yeah, so it basically gives you all of the information that you want. I asked this question before, and I compared with some textbooks, and it actually it seems to be pretty accurate. And again, I think this is because I'm sure people have asked these questions before on the internet. So this kind of questions must be included in the. Oh, okay. So this has never happened before. Okay, sorry about that. Oh, but it got me right back to the yes. Phew. Okay, so next one. Let's see. Yeah, how about like asking it to correct grammatical mistakes? This might be a challenging one, right? I actually tried this. I asked another large language model to produce, like Claude. I asked it to produce a paragraph in Japanese that deliberately contains some mistakes. And then let's see if ChatGPT can capture all of the mistakes in the text that Claude produces. Let's see. Yeah, and does it compare with, okay, so while Claude created this paragraph, it actually contains the mistakes that it actually made. So does it correspond to what ChatGPT says? I'm not sure, but I did it. I did this experiment on my own, and I think it did catch most of it. But maybe ChatGPT added a few bonuses. Let's see. All right. Okay. So ChatGPT wants things to be more polite. Okay. Okay. So the deliberate mistake, konnichiwa means okay, hello, but it deliberately wrote it as koniwachi, and it caught it, right? And a few others. I'm not sure if it's 100%, but as you can see, it, as a kind of like something to correct your grammatical mistakes, it can be pretty helpful as well. And this is something that I really appreciate from ChatGPT. So I was learning Japanese through a few songs, and this is one of the songs that I really want to learn. So I asked it to explain the lyrics of this song. What it really impressed me is that it says it's a poetic expression. I don't know where that came from, but it really gives me more confidence in this song that I really want to learn. and it can give you different results as well. So let's see if we ask it a different time and what happens. And as you can see, this is actually pretty accurate as well. At least it also mentioned a sense of poetic and emotional depth. Actually, that's what I was looking for. So good job, ChatGPT. All right. Okay. So that's basically some like very, very basic usage. So far, any questions? Has anyone tried it with any other large language models, and does it provide the same or different response? And you can feel free to try in a language that you want to learn as well. It's just because that I'm learning Japanese and I'm pretty ignorant about other languages as well. So yeah, please feel free to use the language that you are interested in for this demo as well. Wait, am I sharing my screen on Zoom? Wait. No, sorry. Oh yeah, okay. Someone said Zoom lost screen share. I'm glad I caught it. Okay, so let's now go a little bit further. Let's add some prompt engineering to it. And this is where ChatGPT can become really, really powerful for you. So you just saw this explain this sentence, but you can be much more specific about it. And then ChatGPT will give you very specific answers as well. So in the past, I have tried this. Instead of just asking it to explain this sentence, I asked it to explain the vocabulary, the structure, and the grammatical points in this sentence. So the ChatGPT will give you more kind of detailed answers in terms of these points. So here's one of the answers that it gave me. Again, it impressed me because this is a character, one of my favorite characters in the Demon Slayer anime or manga. And I was really impressed that the ChatGPT actually knows about this character and tells me that it could be from this manga. And then, with all these details, it actually started to explain every single word in a sentence. It might be or might not be the kind of thing that you want, but you can feel free to engineer this prompt so that it suits your needs. All right, okay. So now you can also choose to format the output. ChatGPT is actually very good with coding. So it knows a lot about HTML, about Markdown, and JSON. So if you want your format to be in this kind of like a digitally recognizable format, you can do that. So let's try this. It's basically the same prompt before, but I asked ChatGPT instead of giving me a list, give me a table so I can use it somewhere else. Yeah, so now it gives you a markdown table, and you can also ask it to give you an HTML table as well. And the benefit of these tables is that you can actually copy and paste these tables in one of your note applications, and it will keep these tables. Yeah, but maybe we can even ask it to make more improvements. So for example, you can use bullet points, and ChatGPT also, yeah, please go ahead. Yes, actually, I'm going to talk about that in a little moment. So yeah, thank you. Very good question. Yeah, so you can actually customize the table. You can customize like what kind of columns you want, what kind of content that is in each of these columns. So for example, I made this prompt, which very specifically asks for 3 columns. And there's some information that it didn't give me, which is the part of speech of the word. And I also want to put these pronunciations in parentheses right next to the word. And let's see if ChatGPT is up for the job. Okay, let's just start a new one. You can also feel free to tell ChatGPT, okay, you did it wrong. Let's do it this way, and it will happily do it for you. Yep, see, it also gives you the part of speech for the word. And you can even ask it to give you the exact type of the word. For example, in Japanese, you have different types of verbs. You have the ichidan, you have the godan verbs. The ChatGPT also has knowledge about that, and it will give you the right answers. And throughout these exercises, there's one thing I want to note is that, which is that it never got anything wrong here. So it's very good at just getting whatever it knows. So it never gave you the wrong pronunciation. Actually, in my experience, it never gave me the wrong pronunciation. It never gave me the wrong meaning either. It is just correct, which to me is very, very impressive. But there is actually one mistake that it made here, which is that I asked it for a certain level of difficulty. But unfortunately, ChatGPT might not always have this kind of information available to it. So sometimes it can give you, so this is not at the level that I want it to be. Yeah, so this is a limitation, but I think we can, it can be explained as that, ChatGPT just doesn't always have that kind of information. Yeah, from my experience, it sometimes does, sometimes it doesn't. So in terms of the hallucination, this might be one of the times that it does. That's right. Yeah, I wanted N3 words. I feel like this, for example, like Nihongo, Japanese shouldn't be a N3 word. Should be probably N5. So this is not exactly, it is not always accurate, but I believe that if you go with the more advanced GPT-4, it is less likely to make this kind of mistakes. All right, of course, now that you have a markdown table, you can actually ask it to format it as a HTML table or a JSON file so that you can use it later. And another little tip is that when you are doing prompt engineering, letting letting ChatGPT know what kind of role it plays actually can be very helpful in getting the kind of output that you want. So you can ask it to be, you can ask it to be a Japanese tutor and give it some information about what you want it to do. For example, you want intermediate to advanced level Japanese words. And let's see if we give it this kind of context, if it gets you better results. I would say a little bit better, but still not at the point that we want it to be. So this could be a limitation of the of this model. There's a way to remedy it, which is the next part that I want to touch on, which is you can actually give ChatGPT a context to reduce the possibility of hallucination. So what I mean is basically very simple. Right now, you're asking it to basically give you some information out of the blue, right? It probably dips into its own knowledge about the language, and sometimes it's not always accurate. So for example, it probably does not always have the information about the difficulty, right? But if you give it some context, so for example, like if you give it an article, and then you ask it to extract information from it, that can be a very powerful usage of ChatGPT. So here is where the exciting part begins. All right, so here I want ChatGPT to annotate the pronunciation of the kanji in a passage, a text that I found on the internet. So let's see what it does. Again, this might not work might not always work. So fingers crossed. Okay, so I think it actually did what it's supposed to do, which is it took this passage, it took this text, and then put all of the pronunciation annotations in parentheses right next to the kanjis. So you know how to, and I think from what I read, it's doing a pretty good job. And I think it picked up most of the kanjis and put pronunciation right next to it. Which to me is already very exciting because I wanted some aid when I was learning Japanese to be able to kind of know how to pronounce these words in kanji. Because I'm Chinese, I already know these words, but not in a way that people pronounce it in Japanese. So this is very helpful. But here's the magic of ChatGPT. There is an HTML tag that people don't usually use, which actually you might have seen this online. So this HTML tag, the use of it, so if you have a word like this, you put it in the Ruby tag and you put its pronunciation or whatever you want to annotate in an RT tag. And in HTML, it will render the word, but with the pronunciation annotation on top of it. You might have seen that in some of the websites, and you can actually ask ChatGPT to do that for you. This is where I found it to be very, very impressive. Let's try this. Okay, so it gives you some HTML, right? And you can copy it. And let's see what it does. You can use it. You can use this kind of HTML in an application that supports Markdown, or you can go to this website called JSBin, and then put the HTML right in here, and then voila. Yeah, let me just make it bigger. The pronunciation is notated automatically on top of the kanjis in the paragraph. It is right now not perfect. As you can see, it misses some of the words, right? But you can actually tell ChatGPT and say, hey, this is great, but you missed some words. Okay. And see. Okay, so let's see if this makes any difference. All right. On the right, Did it make any difference? Yeah, so it didn't make any difference, unfortunately. Well, but this is ChatGPT 3.5. But it could make a difference in ChatGPT 4. I tried it. So let's try ChatGPT 4.
You missed some words specifically.
Yes, let's try this. Yeah, maybe like you missed this word. Let's see if it works. Okay. You missed the word. Did it do it? Let's see. Okay. Copy code. Okay. On the right. Yes, it did it. Right. If you're very specific, it knows how to correct its own mistakes. But I did try ChatGPT 4 at home. And actually, ChatGPT 4 is much better at this task. And with just a prompt like that, it actually fixes its own mistakes. So sometimes, even if the large language models do not provide you the immediately correct output, you can still ask it follow-up questions, and most of the time, it will correct its own mistakes. Okay, so how do I get back to the previous page? Okay, maybe this one. Okay, good. Yeah, and also sometimes you can also do few-shot learning, which means you can give it a few examples, and then it will use these examples as like references, so that it does something that is more likely what you want it to do. Yeah, in the interest of time, okay, it's already 12:48, so I am going to just show maybe one more thing, and you will see these points in the website that I'm going to show you. So okay, so let's try asking ChatGPT to make a quiz for you to kind of test your understanding of an article that you have seen. So let's see. This is challenging part, and okay, let's fingers crossed. Let's hope it works. Okay, what happens? Yeah, so I'm asking it to give me a quiz, and I can answer, and then it will tell me if it's right or wrong. So let's see. Okay, so okay, so let me just okay, I don't know whether it's right or wrong, but let's see. My Japanese is not that good, but let's see if it's wrong. It's right or wrong. Okay, it's correct. All right, and then it goes on to the next question, and it actually gives you the explanation of why you did it right or wrong, and it all came from the information in the article. All right, okay, so this one, let me also just say 8 and see what happens. All right, so I got it wrong. And again, it gave me an explanation of what the right answer. Okay, so in the interest of time, I'm not going to continue with this, but what I want to do is I want to show you how I put together all these ideas so that and made a website just out of this. So this is the app that I made. It's a web-based app. So basically what it does is that it scrapes the web, and every day it takes one Japanese news article and then use ChatGPT to process all of the information using the prompts that I've just showed you, and then put the contents in a website, so that basically it's a one news article per day website that helps you learn Japanese. So So first, what I did is I asked ChatGPT to give me pronunciation annotations. And I added some value to it. So for example, I also asked ChatGPT to write this kind of toggle for me so I can actually turn on and off the pronunciation. I actually don't know how to do it, but ChatGPT showed me how to do it. And also, I used the Google Cloud Platform to produce some text-to-speech, which sounds very, very human-like. I'm not sure. Maybe I can show that here.
then, now then, 時々のいは、時々くんが恋しくなるといった言葉で、大切な人への断ち切れない思いを吐露する曲。62年のデビュー曲、Love Me Do との両 A 面での発売となった。Now
All right. Okay. So yeah. So the Google Cloud Platform actually allows you to create very, very human-like text-to-speech. So when I heard this, I was actually very impressed because this very good pronunciation. It doesn't sound robotic at all. All right. So this is the first part. The second part, I asked it to create a list of vocabulary from the article. And I also asked it to provide me its difficulty, but again, this doesn't always work because it doesn't have the definite information in ChatGPT. But the way I did it is that I asked ChatGPT to give me Markdown. And then I basically just put this Markdown in a static site generator that can use Markdown to produce this table for me. I also made some modification, which if I click on the word, it will take me to a dictionary site where I can learn more about this word. Yeah, and then I also asked it to pick like 3 sentences that you think are most challenging, and then explain the grammatical points and the structure of the sentence. Again, it does a very admirable job. Yeah, and then in the end, there's this quiz. So basically, it's the same thing, right? But I asked ChatGPT to, instead of like prompting me to do it with it interactively, I ask it to put all these questions and options, correct answers, plus the explanation in a JSON. And then you can so then I can use this JSON to populate this quiz. It actually shows you whether you did it right or wrong. Let me just keep answering A and see what happens. All right, so it tells you whether some of it is correct, some of it is wrong. What really impressed me is that it did generate these questions, and this question is about the latest Beatles song. So it asks you questions about the members, so you might know that they use AI to maybe like regenerate or process the audio of John Lennon, right? And included that in the audio, and this question actually asked about it. What impressed me is that it did not give me just any name, right? It asked you to choose one of the 4 names from the Beatles. Yeah, so basically this website shows that you can actually use ChatGPT for tasks like this. But so I have been doing this for about a month, about a month now. So I have about like 20 to 30 articles so that I can actually monitor whether ChatGPT does a good job or not. And so far, my conclusion is that yes, but not always reliable. So for example, I realized that in today's article, so for example, the annotation is not always reliable. But it happens. It doesn't happen very often. It happens about once a week or so. And also you can definitely correct this. There are ways to, for example, you can reprompt ChatGPT if you don't think this is good. You can actually ask it to regenerate this thing for you. But I restricted myself to a budget of about 2 cents a day. So I don't want to actually ask ChatGPT questions over and over again. So this is all just asking ChatGPT just one thing, and this is the raw output it gives you. You can definitely choose to ask more questions and ask ChatGPT to correct the answer for you. And you can also ask another large language models to actually correct this mistake for you as well. Okay, so yeah, so this is this is the app that I made. Again, with ChatGPT, you can ask it to write code for you. So this app, I spent about a weekend to do it. So it's in a weekend you get a clone of a website of some paid app, which I think is pretty reasonable. And also you're just spending 1 or 2 cents a day, right? As opposed to a subscription of like $5 a month or something like that. And that's all. Thank you so much for coming. I'll take questions. Thank you. There's a question. Is this a question? All right. Okay. And thank you all, everyone on Zoom as well. Thank you. Yep.
ChatGPT actually helps you learn something.
To some extent, but I think I was probably more interested in building this app than actually learning Japanese. But I promise I will actually learn Japanese from it. Yeah. Mhm.
Thanks for the presentation. I really like the demonstration.
Thank you.
especially, like, the stochastic,
Yeah.
demonstration and like
Yeah.
how you explain it.
Mhm.
My question is, why is the community seems like more focused on like say the prompt engineering part and like, the prospects.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm trying to say is like versus tuning the model, like on its own like transfer learning. So for example, your use Japanese use article.
Yeah. Mhm.
If you can tune it like say feeding it say additional say like archive of Japanese articles or the Japanese level like
Yeah.
data like whatever study materials. I'm just curious, is there you can give me some inspiration of why seems like the community is like more interested in just like the prompt engineering part. I don't know if there's more stuff being done on like sort of tuning a model like by doing transfer learning or other stuff.
Yeah. So I think a lot of it is about the cost of doing fine tuning, right? So most of the large language models are like really huge, and not to mention you have to collect data on that, right? So curating a data set that is very specific to language learning can be very costly. And also like just fine tuning the website, the large language models can be costly as well, right? Because they tend to require not just one GPU, multiple GPUs to actually get reasonable performance in terms of like training. So I think in terms of cost, it is more kind of economic to to basically do prompt engineering. Yeah. Yeah, and also there's also the this well, I would say technique called retrieval augmented generation. So it also kind of like reduces the cost of training, and you can just use some existing information so to expand the knowledge of the language models. Yep.
Well, thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Paul.
I
Yes.
was so surprised by when you explained about the multiple choice question of Beatles, at least about the numbers.
Yeah.
Japanese stuff.
Yeah, it's really cool. Thank you, Paul.
Were you saying that you could actually do like a chatbot for
Mhm.
context, or is there like
enough context to have like a map of outcomes?
Yeah, definitely. And also like nowadays, the large language models give you pretty generous context. So if you use Claude, for example, you can, I think the context length is about hundreds of thousands of tokens. So you actually don't have to worry about that because that's like hundreds of pages of documents that you can use, right? So and the ChatGPT is catching up in that respect as well. So they just released a new GPT for Turbo model that has about as much context length as well. So yeah, so this is definitely something that people are working on because they realize, giving given these language models more context means like more accurate results, more reliable results, and things like that.
So you could like the API in real time, like the transcript of everything before the current message, and then it'll add on to that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was going to do that, but I was thinking I don't want to spend too much money, so I limited my budget to 2 cents a day. So yeah, but you can definitely do that.
You also have the URL.
Yeah, yeah. It's hold on, let me